Hello, good day everyone. This is Laika Hernandez from BS Ed Math 3V, and this is my final investigation. So the problem is, consider the following sequence of dots. The sequence starts with 2 by 2 dots that then at each step we can draw any size of a square. Now the question is, how many squares we can draw on each step. So these are the sequence. And there is a note. So this type of square is not counted. The square that like a rhombus or diamond. So let's proceed to the first step, understand the problem. We have here 4 sequence of that. The sequence start with 2 by 2 dots. Then each step we need to count the possible squares that can be drawn from it. So the first step is 2 by 2 dots. The second step is 3 by 3 dots. The third step is 4 by 4 dots. And the fourth step is 5 by 5 dots. So that is the note. Next, we proceed to the second step, devise a plan. First of all, we need to do is to count all the possible squares in each steps according to its size. Remember that all the square must not interfere the rule. So step 1, 2 by 2 dots. So the size of square is 1 by 1 square. Ito lang yung pwede nating i-draw sa 2 by 2 dots. So therefore, there is one possible squares that we can draw from the step 1. So step 2, 3 by 3 dots. So this is the possible size of squares that we can draw. So sa 1 by 1 there are 4 squares, and sa 2 by 2 there are 1 square. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and sa 2 by 2 is 1 square. Therefore, 4 plus 1 is equal to 5 possible squares. So next is step 3, 4 by 4 dots. So yung possible size of squares na ma-draw natin dito is 1 by 1, which is 9 square, 2 by 2, which is 4 squares, and 3 by 3 is 1 square. So ito yung representation niya. So sa 1 by 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So sa 2 by 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And sa 3 by 3, 1 square. So 9 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 14 possible squares. Now, sa step 4 na tayo, 5 by 5 dots. So, yung square na pwede nating i-draw dito is 1 by 1, which is 16 squares, 2 by 2, may 9 squares, 3 by 3, may 4 squares, and 4 by 4, may isang square. So, ito yung representation niya. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, up to 16 square. So next is 2 by 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And sa 3 by 3 naman is may 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And lastly, sa 4 by 4, may 1 square. So 16 plus 9 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 30 possible squares sa step 4. So within these 4 steps, the number of possible squares that we can draw are 1, 5, 14, and 30. So if we continue to do this sequence of dots, what is the pattern we can generate from it? So there is any general formula for the n by n dots? Let us see. So, i-continue natin. Punta tayo sa step 5, which is carry out the plan. Step 3. So, let us know how many possible squares we can draw into the next 2 steps. So, sa step 5 is 6 by 6 dots. So, yung mga possible na ma-draw natin dito is yung 1 by 1 is 25 squares, 2 by 2, 16 squares, 3 by 3 is 9 squares. So, 25 squares sa 1 by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3. So, there are 25 squares. So, sa 2 by 2 is 16. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Next is sa 3 by 3 naman, there are 9 square. So, ito yung representation niya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So, next size ng square is 4 by 4, which is 4 squares, and 5 by 5, may isang square. So, ito yung representation niya. So, 1, 2, 3, and 4 squares. Then, 5 by 5 is may isa. So, the possible squares na ma-draw natin sa 6 by 6 dots is 25 plus 16 plus 9 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 55. So, next step is 7 by 7 dots. So, may ma-draw tayo dito is 1 by 1, which is 36 squares. Then, 2 by 2, may 25 squares. 3 by 3, may 16 squares. 4 by 4 is equal to 9 squares. And 5 by 5, may 4 squares. And 6 by 6, may 1 squares. Hindi ko na siya present ng animation kasi mas mahirap na to kasi madami na siyang square. So, the possible squares that we can draw from it is 36 plus 25 plus 16 plus 9 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 91 possible squares sa 7 by 7 dots. Now, we list all the squares that we draw into the 6 steps that we have. So, present ko siya using a table. So, this is the table. So, dito sa step 1, may 1 possible square tayo. Then, dito sa 2 by 2, may 4 square tayo ma-draw na 1 by 1 yung size, and 2 by 2 is 1 square. Therefore, it is 5. Then, 3, step 3, 4 by 4 dots. May 9 tayong ma-draw na 1 by 1 yung size niya. May 4 tayong ma-draw na 2 by 2 yung size, and may 1 tayong ma-draw na 3 by 3 yung size. Therefore, it is equal to 14 possible squares. And then, sa step 4, 5 by 4 dots, may 16 tayo sa 1 by 1, may 9 tayo sa 2 by 2, may 3 tayo sa ay may 4 tayo sa 3 by 3, may 1 tayo sa 4 by 4. A total of 30 possible squares. Sa step 5, 6 by 6 dots, may 25 tayo sa 1 by 1, 16 tayo sa 2 by 2, 9 sa 3 by 3, 4 sa 4 by 4, 1 sa 5 by 5. A total of 55 squares. Then lastly, sa step 6, 7 by 7 dots, may 36 tayo sa 1 by 1, may 25 tayo sa 2 by 2, may 16 tayo sa 3 by 3, may 9 tayo sa 4 by 4, may 4 tayo sa 5 by 5, and may 1 tayo sa 6 by 6. A total of 91 squares. So, as you can see, etong diagonal na to is puro 1. Itong diagonal na to is puro 4. Itong diagonal na to is puro 9. And itong diagonal na to is puro 16. And itong diagonal na to is puro 25. Then, if we continue this process, may mabubuo din tayo na diagonal na puro 36. So, that is the pattern. So, next pattern is ito. So, yung sequence natin is 1, 5, 14, 30, 55, and 91. So, yung kukunin natin yung kada yung difference ng each sequence. Oops. Sorry, yung pagkaka-edit pag nilipat sa phone is nagkakaroon ng typographical error. So, eto lang yung mga difference yung difference ng 1 and 5 is 4, yung difference ng 5 and 14 is 9, yung difference ng 14 and 30 is 16, yung difference ng 30 and 55 is 25, yung difference ng 55 and 91 is 36. Then, kukunin na naman natin yung difference ng 4, 9, 16, 25, and 36. Pasensya na naman. So, yung difference ng 4 and 9 is 5, yung difference ng 9 and 16 is 7, yung difference ng 16 and 25 is 9, yung difference ng 25 and 36 is 11. Then, lastly, yung difference ng 5, 7, 9, and 11, yung difference ng 5 and 7 is 2, yung difference ng 7 and 9 is 2, yung difference ng 9 and 11 is 2. So, as you can see, pag kinuha natin yung pangatlong difference ng sequence na ito, nag-a-add lang po siya ng 2. So, if the sequence will be continued after the next 3 terms, so our sequence will be 1, 5, 14, 30, 55, 91, 140, 204, and 285. So, next. Square each possible according to its size and add it to get the total possible square each step. So, ito yung another pattern na na-derive natin. So, sa step 1, may yung possible square na ano natin, size is 1 by 1. So, 1 squared is equal to 1 possible square. So, step 2 is may dalawa tayong size na drawn, which is yung 1 by 1 and 2 by 2. So, 1 squared is plus 2 squared is equal to 5 possible squares. Sa step 3, may tatlo tayong size na square, yung 1 by 1, 2 by 2, and 3 by 3. So, squared natin tong mga to. 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 3 squared is equal to 14 possible squares. Then, sa step 4 is squared na naman natin yung apat na size na na-derive natin doon, which is 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4. So, 1 squared plus 2 by squared plus 3 squared plus 4 squared is equal to 30 possible squares. What if we can include the square like a rhombus? How many square we can draw each step? So, yung ganitong yung parang diamond kanina. So, sa step 1, 2 by 2 dots. So, 1 by 1 square. So, wala tayong mabubuo dyan, di ba? Kasi 1 by 1 lang siya. So, may 1 possible square lang tayo dyan. So, sa step 2, 3 by 3 dots, may 3 tayo. So, yung 1 by 1, which is 4 square, 2 by 2, which is 1 square, and yung 1 square na hindi pa natin alam kung ano nga ba yung size ng square na yon. This is like a rhombus square. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sa 2 by 2 is 1 square. Then sa unknown pa yung size niya is isang square din. Ito siya. Yan. So, there are the possible squares that we can draw from it is 4 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 6 possible square. So, next step is 4 by 4 dots. So, may mabubuo tayo dito na size. Yung 1 by 1 is 9, 2 by 2 is 4, 3 by 3 is 1. So, eto siya. So, another, yung hindi pa natin alam na size ng square, may hapat tayo. Tapos, yung another size na hindi pa natin alam, may 2 square. Ito yung representation niya. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, yung dalawa is 1 and 2. As you can see, yung dalawang 4 square, tapos yung yung dalawang square is magkaiba yung size. Later on, papakita ko sa inyo kung paano nga ba natin makukuha yung size ng dalawang to. So, step 3. Ay, yung possible squares na mabubuo natin dito sa step 3 is 9 plus 4 plus 1 plus 4 plus 2 is equal to 20 possible squares. So, next is step 4. So, hindi ko na pinakita kasi nakita na naman natin kanina yung animation kung ilan nga bang square yung mabubuo natin sa 5 by 5 dots na hindi na walang madodraw na parang rhombus. So, dito papakita ko kung ilan yung possible squares na madodraw natin if kasama yon. So, yung 1 by 1 is 16, 2 by 2 is 9, 3 by 3 is 4, and 4 by 4 is 1. So, eto yung tatlong hindi pa natin na alam yung size ng square. So, una sa 9 square. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. May 9 na square. So, next is, may 8 square na magkaiba din tong size nito. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, next is, may 3 square na mabubuo dito sa isa pang kind of square like a rhombus. 1, 2, 3. So, yan. Yung possible squares na mabubuo natin will be 16 plus 9 plus 4 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 3 is equal to 50 possible squares sa 5 by 5 dots if kasama yung rhombus-like. So, next is step 5, 6 by 6 dots. So, sa 16 squares, na unknown pa yung size niya, ito yung representation niya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Ay, basta 16 po yun. Huli lang ako sa pagbilang. So, 18 square yung mabubuo natin sa susunod na size na square na parang rhombus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, sa susunod na size is may 4 tayong square na mabubuo. So, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, sa next size na naman, may 8 squares tayong mabubuo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. May 8. Then, sa susunod is may 2 square. 1, 2. So, sa susunod is may 2 na naman. 1 and 2. So, yan lahat. At itong mga na buo natin na square na parang rhombus or diamond siya is may 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. May 6. Hindi pa natin alam kung ano nga ba yung size ng mga to. Papatunayan natin mamaya kung talaga bang square to o hindi. Yun, nahuli yung isa. So, 25 plus 16 plus 9 plus 4 plus 1 plus 16 plus 18 plus 4 plus 8 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 105 possible squares. So, next, now let us find the general formula to get the possible number of squares in the n by n dots. Ano kaya yung formula? So, ito yung formula. N raised to 4 minus n squared over 12, where n is the size of dots on the given step. So, sa step 1, 2 by 2 dots, yung n natin is 2. So, substitute lang natin yung given sa formula. 2 raised to 4 minus 2 squared over 12 is equal to 16 minus 4 over 12 is equal to 12 over 12 is equal to 1 possible square. So, totoo siya sa step 1. Sa step 2 is 3 by 3 dots. Yung n natin is equal to 3. So, substitute ulit natin yung given. 3 raised to 4 is equal to minus 3 squared over 12 is equal to 81 minus 9 over 12 is equal to 72 over 12. Therefore, it is 6 possible squares. So, totoo siya, di ba? Yung step 2 natin kanina na meron na siyang rhombus, yung parang rhombus na square is 6 possible square. So, next. Sa step 3, 4 by 4 dots. Yung n natin is equal to 4. So, substitute ulit natin. 4 raised to 4 is equal to minus 4 squared over 12 is equal to 256 minus 16 over 12 is equal to 240 over 12 is equal to 20 possible squares. So, totoo din siya sa 4 by 4 dots or step 3. Sa step 4 naman, 5 by 5 dots. So, yung n natin is equal to 5. 5 raised to 4 po yun. Pasensya na, hindi ko po nalagay. 5 raised to 4 minus 5 squared over 12 is equal to 625 minus 25 over 12 is equal to 600 over 12 is equal to 50 possible squares. So, next is the step 5. 6 by 6 dots. N natin is equal to 6. 6 raised to 4 po yun minus 6 raised to 2 over 12 is equal to 1296 minus 336 over 12 is equal to 1260 over 12 is equal to 105 possible squares. So, yung formula natin is applicable siya dito sa sequence na to kasi nakuha natin yung exact possible squares. So, next. So, gamitin naman natin yung Pythagorean theorem. So, yung Pythagorean theorem is ito yung A, ito yung B, Ito yung C. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So we need to focus here to this square like a rhombus. Since the step 1, we cannot be able to form a square like a rhombus kanina, we need to skip that and let us start with the step 2, which is 3 by 3 dots. So, ayan po yung kukunin po natin yung size ng square na yan, o papatunayan natin kung square nga ba yan para counted po siya. Gagamitan po natin siya ng Pythagorean theorem. Yung square na nabuo dyan, o yung rhombus like square like a rhombus, may mga right triangle na nakapalibot. Ito yung mga right triangle dito, may 4 dito. Sensya na, hindi ko draw ng maayos. Yan, yung 4 na right triangle. So, kukuha tayo ng isa dito na representation. Ito siya, para may pakita natin. So, tong side na to is ito, yung isang side ng square na parang rhombus. So, yung hypotenuse. So, next. So, may 1 tayo dito. 1. So, saan kaya natin nakuha yung 1? So, burahin lang natin to. Etong, pag ganito, yung dots na is isa yung minsan lang siya mag-move. So, kaya ito, naging 1. So, next is 1 ulit. Etong size na to, size nito, tsaka size na to is 1. Oo. Then, yung kukunin na lang natin is yung hypotenuse o yung C. So, C is unknown. So, these are the possible number of square that is according to its size on. So, gagamitan natin yung formula dito na A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So, yan. Substitute lang natin. Yung A is 1, yung B is 1, then 1 squared plus 1 squared is equal to C squared. So, para matanggal yung squared, i-squared natin siya. So, 1 squared plus 1 squared is 2, is equal to 2. So, squared, square natin siya both side para makancel C squared. So, natira na lang C is equal to square root of 2. So, these are the possible numbers of square that is according to its size on this step 2, 3 by 3 dots. So, since alam na natin yung size ng square na to, alam na natin na ito is equal to 2 by 2, ito is equal to 2 by 2, ito is equal to 2 by 2, and ito is equal to 2 by 2. So, alam na natin na yung size ng square na to is square root of 2. Square root of 2 pala. Each side ng ito is square root of 2. So, napatunayan natin na ito ay isang square kasi pare-pareha sila na size ng side. So, ito na yung possible. 1 by 1 is 4 square. 2 by 2 is 1 square. Square root of 2 by square root of 2 is equal to 1 square. So, therefore, it is 6 possible square. So, next, step 3, 4 by 4 dots. So, ayan, yung mga possible square na hindi pa natin alam yung size. So, kukuhanin natin yung, since eto, halimbawa, eto, tapos, eto na naman, ay parang same lang din sa kinuhanan natin kanina. So, eto yung representation ng mga right triangle. Ayan. So, gawin natin. So, yung eto, halimbawa, eto yung kukuhanan natin. So, may 1 dito, may 1 din dito. Eto, itong C dito is unknown. Saan siya na? Pangit yung sulat ko. So, 1 yan. So, C squared. So, parang same lang din kanina, diba? So, substitute natin yung formula. 1 squared plus 1 squared is equal to C squared. So, para makancel C squared, kailangan square root natin both sides. So, square root of 2 is equal to square root of 2 C squared. Then, cancel. Cancel natin yan. Kaya, natira na lang is square root of 2 is equal to C. So, the next size na hindi pa natin alam, di ba may dalawa tayo kanina na nabuo dito na hindi natin alam yung size. Ito siya. Yung representation niya. So, yan. Hindi natin alam kung ano nga ba yung size niyan. So, alam natin. So, ito. Magmumove. Ito yung right triangle. Halimbawa, ito. Or, try ba natin? Ito, sabihin na natin itong dalawang to. Oops. Hindi malinaw. Yan. Yan. Diba, etong dot na to, papunta dito is dalawa. So, yung magiging A natin is dalawa. Tapos, yung etong dot na to, tapos papunta dito is isa. So, eto yung maging representation yan. Yan. So, isa yung yung B, tapos dalawang move sa A. Tapos, ang unknown na naman si C. Hanapin natin si C. Using the formula, we need to substitute 1 squared plus 2 squared is equal to C squared. Then, square root natin yung both sides. Square root of 5 is equal to square root of C squared. Cancel. Cancel. Kaya matitira na lang is square root of 5 is equal to C. So, yung dalawang size ng square na hindi pa natin alam, ito is 2 by 2. Square root of 2 by square root of 2. Ito naman, itong size na to, kada isang dito, isa dito, isa dito, isa dito, is yung size niya, itong size ng C, is square root of 5. So, square root of 5 by square root of 5. So, these are the possible number of squares that is according to its size on step 2. Step 3 pala. 4 by 4 dots. So, 1 by 1 is equal to 9. 2 by 2 is equal to 4, 3 by 3 is equal to 1, square root of 2 by square root of 2 is equal to 4, and square root of 5 by square root of 5 is equal to 2. So, yung possible squares na nabuo natin, 9 plus 4 plus 1 plus 4 plus 2 is equal to 20 possible squares. So, yan. Sa step 4 na tayo. So, 5 by 5 dots. So, may tatlo tayong ang known na size na square. So, dito, etong una is may 9. So, eto, sa kada side nito may right triangle na ganyan. Right triangle, ganon. So, kunin natin tong isa bilang representation. So, itong pag mag-move ka dito is may 1. Then, pag move ka dito is may 1 din. So, that is 1. 1 and 1. So, ang na naman si C. So, using the formula, substitute lang natin. 1 squared plus 1 squared is equal to C squared. So, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So, bring down natin si C squared. So, since may square dito, kailangan natin square root both sides. So, C squared of C squared. So, cancel, matitira na lang. C is equal to square root of 2. So, proceed tayo sa next size. Ito yung gagamitin nating representation. Meron din dito. Tapos, ito, same size din tong lahat ng to. So, ito, pag mag-move tayo dito, move tayo 1 and 2. So, ito magiging 2. So, si A natin is equal to 2. So, pag mag-move tayo dito is 1. So, ito yung representation niya. So, 1 and 2. Si A natin is 2. Tapos, si B natin 1. Move tayo dito, 1. So, ang na naman si C. Using the formula, substitute natin yung given. 2. A is 2. 2 squared plus 1 squared is equal to C squared. So, square root natin both side para makancel si squared. So, titira na lamang is C is equal to square root of 5. So, next size tayo is etong size na to, itong size ng square na to is square root of 5. Since pag ilalapat natin to, ito diba is 2 to, tapos ito 1, tapos ito square root of 5, square root of 5 din to, square root of 5 din to, then square root of 5 din to, kasi same lang din yung size ng mga right triangle. So, napatunayan natin na ito ay isang squared, kasi pare-pareha sila ng length of side nila. So, next is ito. So, may mabubuo tayong dalawang right triangle dito. So, ito 1. Ito muna yung gagamitin natin. So, papunta dito is may 1. Papunta dito, 1, 2, 3. May 3. So, yung 1 natin is si B, tapos si A natin is equal to 3. So, ang una naman si C. So, pag ilalapat itong right triangle dito, yan, is same lang din yung size. Ganon. So, using the formula, substitute natin si given. So A is equal to 3. 3 squared plus 1 squared is equal to C squared. Tapos, square root natin si C squared para makancel C squared. So, matitira na lamang is C is equal to 10. So, another size ng right triangles ay ito. Pag ito ay nilapat natin dito, tapos dito, tapos dito, tapos dito is same lang din yung size nila. Pag kunin natin to as representation ng isang right triangle, isang side niya ng square na to. So, pag move tayo dito, 1, 2, so 2, tapos 1 and 2, so may 2, so ang una naman si C. So, using the formula, substitute natin si A plus B. So, A squared plus 2 squared plus 2 squared is equal to C squared. So, squared natin both side para makancel si squared, kaya matitira na lamang is C is equal to square root of 8. Pag nilapat mo ito, may mabubuo ka. So, eto, square root of 8. Same din size nito, so square root of 8 din to. So, same din size nito, square root of 8, square root of 8. So, yung size ng square na to, na nabuo, is square root of 8 by square root of 8. So, these are now the numbers of squares, including this square like a rhombus, that is according to its size of the step, or 5 by 5. That's so 1 by 1 is 16, 2 by 2 is 9, 3 by 3 is 4, 4 by 4 is 1, square root of 2 by square root of 2 is 9, square root of 5 by square root of 5 is 8, square root of 8 by square root of 8 is equal to 1, square root of 10 by square root of 10 is equal to 2. So, eto na yung possible. 16 plus 9 plus 4 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 1 plus 2 is equal to 50 possible squares. So, sa last step is step 5, 6 by 6. That's may mga square tayo na iba't iba dito na hindi natin alam yung size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pang 6 to. Magkaiba tong dalawang to. So, eto na. Eto is same lang din doon. Dito. Eto, same lang din doon. Tapos, eto is same lang din doon. Kaya masasabi natin na ito is square root of 2. Tapos, ito naman is square root of 5 kasi same lang din sila ng dalawang to. So, ito is square root of 8 kasi same lang din ito. Itong dalawang to. Tsaka ito. Ito, square root of 8 at tsaka ito. Makukuha natin yung square root of 8. Tapos, square root of 10 is same lang din dito. Dito. So, yan. So, eto na lang. Yung dalawan na lang na to yung pagbubukasan natin. So, eto, kukunin muna natin to. Una. So, pag mag-move ka dito is may 1. Tapos, dito naman is, yung length niya is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, may 4. So, kaya 4 dito nakalagay. So, use ang known na naman si C. So, using the formula is substitute natin yung given. 4 squared plus 1 squared is equal to C squared. So, 16 plus 1 is equal to 17. Square root natin both side para makancel C squared. So, matitira na lamang is C is equal to square root of 17. So, next size naman is eto. So, kukunin natin to. Ito, tapos, ito din siya. Same lang din. Same lang din to. Tapos, ito din. Same lang din. So, yung size ng, kukunin natin to as representation. So, yung size nito is 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. So, 2 tapos 3 to. So, yan na. Yan na siya. So 2 and 3. So, using the, ang known na naman si C, using the formula, we need to substitute the given. 3 squared plus 2 squared is equal to C squared. So, square natin both side para makancel C squared. So, 9 plus 4 is equal to 13. Square root natin, kaya matitira na lamang is C is equal to square root of 13. So, these are now the number of square including the square like a rhombus that is according to its size on the step 5, which is 6 by 6 stats. So, 1 by 1 is 25, 2 by 2 is 16, 3 by 3 is 9, 4 by 4 is 4, 5 by 5 is 1, square root of 2 by square root of 2 is 16, square root of 5 by square root of 5 is 18. The square root of 8 by square root of 8 is 4. Square root of 10 by square root of 10 is 8. The square root of 2 by square root of 2. Square root of 13 by square root of 13 is equal to 2. So, ito is 2. 2 lang. Mali. kakasulat. So, square root of 17 by square root of 17 is 2. So, yan. 2 po yun. So, ito na yung magiging result. 25 plus 16 plus 9 plus 4 plus 1 plus 16 plus 18 plus 4 plus 8 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 105 possible squares. So, do you think this square like a rhombus is a true square? Napatunayan natin kanina na yung each side niya is pare-parehas. Therefore, it is square. We all know that the square is has 4 equal sides. So, using napatunayan natin using the formula of the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Now, let us apply the concept of getting the interior angle of a polygon. We know that the square have 4 congruent sides and 4 congruent right angle. So, to prove it, we need to get the exterior. Hindi pala interior yan. Exterior measure of the angle of the square like a rhombus using the exterior and interior yung gagamitin natin. So, kanina, hindi tayo nakapag-draw ng square like a rhombus sa step 1 kasi hindi possible na maka-create tayo ng ganun. So, in-skip natin yon. So, nag-proceed tayo agad sa step 2. So, sa step 2. So, which is 3 by 3 dots. So, sabi natin kanina na ito, at saka ito is equal to square root of 2. So, using the concept of getting the interior angle or the exterior angle, kukunin natin if eto nga bang angle na to, tsaka ito is same lang din. Kasi yung definition ng square is alam natin na may congruent size of side siya. At the same time, congruent din yung 4 angles niya. So, as you can see, this triangle is like an isosceles triangle. So, 1, kasi 1 and 1. We all know that isosceles triangle, 2 sides of this triangle have equal length, which is equal to 1. 1 to, tsaka 1 yun. So, patunayan natin na this is an isosceles triangle. And as you can see, ito din ay isang example ng right angle na may 90 degrees measures ng isang angle niya. So, ito na siya. So, pag zoom in natin, ito na yung magiging kalabasan niya. So, ito is 90. So, ito is 90. 90 yan. So, alam natin na yung sa kada isang triangle, dapat yung exact measurement niya is 180 degrees. Pag lumagpas yan sa 180, hindi natin masasabi na isa siyang triangle. So, pag 90 to, therefore, yung 90, so 180 degrees minus 90 is equal to 90 na lang. So, i-divide natin yung 90 sa dalawa kasi may dalawa pa tayong unknown na measurement ng angle, kaya magiging 45 degrees. So, eto is 45 and eto is 45. So, eto na siya para mas malaking tingnan. So, eto yung right triangle or yung isosceles. Eto is 90. Eto is 45 and eto is 45. So, same lang din dito. So, using this, masasabi natin na eto, nakikita niyo to, etong buong to, pag inano natin, para siyang protector, yung kalahati ng circle. So, yung kalahati ng circle is equal to 180, diba? So, i-add natin para patunayan natin kung ito is 45, therefore, 45 plus 45 is equal to 90. Same lang din dito. 45 plus 45 is equal to 90. 90 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is 180. 45 plus 45 is equal to 90 plus 90 is 180. Itong buong to is 180. Then 45 plus 45 is equal to 90 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is 180. So therefore, this is an example of a square because all the four sides measures 90 degrees angle. So proceed tayo sa step 3, 4x4 dots. Here we form two examples of square like a rhombus, since we already proven from the previous step that this is an example of square because each side of this square have same length. So let us then napatunayan natin kanina sa step 3 na itong ano na to is same lang din. Etong square na to is etong square na parang rhombus is napatunayan natin na ito is 90 degrees yung ano niya, yung angles niya. That's 90 degrees din to, 90 degrees din to, 90 degrees din to. Then square root of 2 to, then square root of 2 to, square root of 2 ito, and the square root of 2 din ito. So, napatunayan natin na it is an example of a square because it has 4 congruent angle, then yung congruent angle, then yung size of length of side niya is also congruent. So, mag-focus tayo ngayon dito sa mas malaking square. So, sabi natin kanina na ito, tsaka to is 2 tapos 1 ito. So hindi natin siya masasabi na it is an example of an isosceles triangle. So, apply natin yung concept ng right triangle. So, sabi natin kanina na itong size na to is square root of 5, then square root of 5, square root of 5, square root of 5. So, papatunayan naman natin ngayon na ito ay using the concept of the right triangle. Papatunayan natin kung ito nga ba is an example of square, kung nasatisfy niya yung condition ng o definition ng square na may 4 na congruent angle. So, using the concept of the right triangle, and hindi natin magagamit si scaling triangle since yung scaling triangle, two sides niya is incongruent. So, masasabi natin na pag zoom in natin to, ito yung magiging kalabasan niya. So, 2 and 1. So, tong side na to is square root of 5. So, since it is an example of a right triangle, masasabi natin na one of angle niya is equal to 90. So, since eto, tsaka eto, hindi parehas yung magiging angles nila. So, paano nga ba yung gagawin natin dito? So, gagamitin natin yung 30-60 triangle na kung saan eto yung magiging kalabasan niya. So, pag eto is 90 degrees, eto 60 degrees, eto 30, since 30 and 60 is equal to 90 plus 90 is equal to 180. Therefore, etong buong to is 180. Then, proceed tayo dito. 60 plus 30 is 90 plus 90 is equal to 180. 60 plus 30 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is 180. 60 plus 30 plus 90 is 180. Therefore, this is an example of an square because yung lahat ng angle niya is equal to 90 degrees and that is congruent to each other. So, proceed tayo sa step 5. So, on this step, we form another different square like a rhombus from the previous step. Let us prove if it is an example of a square. So, tulad ng ginamit natin kanina dito, gumamit tayo ng 30-60 angles. 30-60 na triangle para mapatunayan natin na this is an example of a square. So, gagamit tayo ng 30 right scaling triangle since yung etong each side niya is hindi congruent, tapos etong isang angle niya is 90. Therefore, it is an example of right scaling triangle. So, kukunin natin to as representation. So if this is a 90, since hindi parehas ng dalawang to, masasabi natin na ito ay example ng 30-60, 90 angles. So, ito yung magiging representation niya. So, if ito is 30, if ito is 30 and ito is 60, so ito siya. Ay, saan ba siya? So, ito 60, tapos ito yung 90, tapos is 30, 180 po. So, pag ito is 60 and ito is 30 is equal to 90 plus 90 is equal to 180. 60 plus 30 plus 90 is 180 itong buong to. 60 plus 90 plus 30 is 180 itong buong to. 60 plus 90 plus 30 is equal to 180. Since all the angles of this square is equal to 90 degrees, therefore, this is an example of a square kasi nasatisfy niya yung condition na lahat ng angles ng square is congruent. So, next size naman tayo ng square is ito. This is an example of an isosceles triangle kasi itong, halimbawa ito yung kukunin natin representation. So, 1 and 2, so, sasabi natin na 2 ito, tapos 2. So, may dalawang angle, may dalawang side silang congruent. So, then, yung isang angle niya is 90, therefore, it is an isosceles right triangle. So, this is an example of 45, 45, 90 triangle. So, since ito is 90, then 90 divided by 2 is equal to 45. So, 45 plus 45 plus 90 is equal to 180. So, ito is 90, ito is 45. So, ito is 45. So, 45 plus 45 is equal to 90 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is 180. So, 45 plus 45 plus 90 is 180. Itong buong to is 180. Kalahati siya ng circle. 45 plus 45 plus 90 is 180. Kalahati siya ng circle. Then, 45 plus 45 plus 90 is equal to 180. Therefore, it is an, since the, 4 angles of this square is equal to 90 or it is a right triangle, this means that it is an example of a square. Next, proceed tayo sa step 5, 6 by 6 dots. On this step, we form again another two different square that is larger than the previous step. Sa previous step, yung step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 is iba tong mga to na nabuo natin. mas larger sila. So, now let us prove if these two squares like a rhombus is an example of a square. So, dito tayo mag-focus. So, eto, ang representation na to, itong naka-shade na to, is eto na siya. So, this is an example of a scalene right triangle. Scalene triangle, lahat ng side niya is hindi pare-pareho yung haba. Tapos, this is an example of a right triangle. Since right triangle, therefore, one angle niya is equal to 90 degrees. So, ito is an example of since etong angle na to at itong angle na to is hindi parehas yung laki. So, masasabi natin na this is an example of 30, 60, 90 angles. So, ito yung magiging representation niya. So, this is 90 and 60 and 30. So, this is, pag ito is 60, tapos ito is 30 is equal to 90. 90 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is 180. Therefore, itong susunod naman is 60 plus 30 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is kalahati ng circle. Sasabi natin na it is a 180. So, 60 plus 90 plus 30 is 180. Itong buong to is masasabi natin na kalahati ng circle kasi 180 siya. So, 60 plus 30 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is kalahati ng circle. Masasabi natin na it is 180. So, pag ito is squared, kapag itong angle na to is 90 degrees, itong angle na to is 90 degrees, itong angle na to is 90 degrees, itong angle na to is 90 degrees. So, masasabi natin na it is an example of a square because the four angles measures 90 degrees shows that it is an example of a square. So, next proceed tayo dito sa isa pang square na nabuo natin. So, etong naka-shade na to is present ko siya dito. So, this is an example of scalene right triangle 30, 60, 90 because yung isang angle niya is 90, it is a right triangle. Tapos, hindi sila pare-pareho ng length of side. Kaya masasabi natin na this is an scalene triangle. So, if eto is 90, masasabi natin na itong mas malaki is 60, tapos yung medyo mas maliit is 30. So, pag nilapat natin ito na siya. So, 90 plus 30 plus 60. So, pag nilapat ulit natin, ito na siya. 60 plus 30 and 90. Parang same din tong dalawang to. So, papakita natin. 30 plus 90 plus 60 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is 180, kalahati ng circle. 30 plus 90 plus 60 is equal to 180. Itong kalahating to is 180. So, 30 plus 60 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is equal to 180. It is an half of a circle. 30 plus 60 plus 90 is equal to 180. Itong buong to is kalahati ng isang circle. So, since all the angle measures 90 degrees, right angle, therefore, we conclude that it is an example of a square. Look back. Upon investigating the given problem, we use different strategy in problem solving, such that using the illustration, formula or general formula for us to get the possible square on the n by n dots. We also apply the concept of Pythagorean theorem. The triangle like the isosceles triangle, right triangle, scalene triangle, 30, 60, 90, 45, 45, 90. Also, we apply the concept of getting the interior angle or the exterior angle of the square at the end, so that we prove that those kind of square like a rhombus are also considered as a square because it satisfies the definition of a square which have 4 congruent straight sides and 4 congruent right angles. And that would be all. Thank you.